Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speculation Station. I'm your host, Captain Kenner. I'm joined today by Texas Honey Badger. Say hello.
Hello.
As well as Bodie again. Say hi.
How's it going, everyone?
And today we have the world champion 2025 of Star Wars Armada, Jay Palmany. Say hello.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I think I've talked about to you a little bit before, and I was able to take part in your Star Wars Armada campaign that you created. And I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to have you on. But now I have another reason to have you on, which is I watching you win the Worlds was an excellent experience. It was kind of a build up, really, because I had watched you in 2023 go head to head with Malador from the UK, and that heartbreaking defeat. So
A little bit.
why don't you, before we get into our other questions, I have a little question of from that point on, what was your mindset going into the next Worlds? I know you went last year too, right?
I did. So last year was I was a little off. My head wasn't in the game. I had a lot of family stuff going on at the time. So I came into it, and the lists I had been practicing, I didn't enjoy. It was a vendor Lumi with 4 Peltas and a Sloan list. I just didn't enjoy the list. So I actually showed up at Worlds, and I just drew this list from an old binder. It was just like, I'm going to play this today. And that's what I ended up playing. But that was 2024. At the end of that, I felt a bit better. I really enjoyed the list. And so I came back around, was like, okay, that was good. Let me actually take a look at this and give this a real go. In 2024, I had intended to retire at that point, but I didn't want to end on that note. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this another real go and see what I can do. If I can make 25th without, or 24th, I think it was 25th, without having practiced in 6 months, maybe I can actually do really well if I really set my mind to it. And so that brought me to 25, and it worked out.
It seems like all the puzzle pieces came together for this Worlds. Um, but going now to our original questionnaire here, how long have you been playing Armada?
I've been playing Armada since I think it was the Battle of Sullust. I think it was like about a year after it came out. It was the like I want to say first round of expansions. Um, and it was they had this like FFG had this campaign or event, like tournament event that really brought a lot of people in. That's about the time I came in. I was played X-Wing about a year before, and this guy was like, "Hey, you should try this Armada game. It's it's the big ships, which is what I always wanted to do." And when I heard it had defense tokens instead of defense dice, I was sold. I haven't been able to look at another tabletop game since.
Yeah, it is an option that is kind of unique to Armada. I have not seen many other games that have something to where it's someone described it as like a static action where you get to spend something rather than roll a dice, like an X-wing or in Warhammer. It's like I'm gonna defend, but it's gonna be another risk and another
Hmm.
risk, just compounding. And then when you get to the end of that train and you still lose, it feels bad, you know.
Yeah, we had this conversation at Worlds. I was talking to Angry Ewok because I was asking him about MCP. His wife plays MCP, and he said, "Yeah, it's just too swingy for him because of the defense dice." And I never really thought about that. I don't know the rules to MCP, so I didn't know I had defense dice. But I've never played a war game that had defense dice, and I could definitely see how like super swingy if you get that really big hit and they just blank out on their defense, then that sucks. And then conversely, if you get a really big hit and they just blank your hit out with their defense, so uh, I do think Armada's defense tokens are much better than relying on swingy defense dice.
For sure. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love the game.
Drew, you want to take it from here for the next question?
Yeah. So, what would you describe as your play style?
Um, it's my play style is I don't give up points, which is hard to describe, but so I liked playing the double ISD with Deirdre because I can maneuver around, I can take a hit, and I'm gonna leave, and you're not gonna score points on me. I played Warhammer Fantasy back in the day, and I really like the concept of Wood Elves because they're all over the place. They're really hard to pin down and score points off of. So in general, I'm don't like to lose things, and so I don't like to give up points. So I think that's the. I've also flown MC-30s. Those things are tough as they're tough little ships, and they hit hard, and they're hard to lock down. So that's another. So I generally think my play style is how do I avoid giving up points?
I hadn't thought of my least favorite ship in the game until you just brought them up. So thank you for giving them that
I'm
rent-free
happy.
space in my head. I hate MC30s, but as far as archetypes go, I think you and I play very similar. You're a much better player than I am, and you practice much more than I do. But like I so we played at the Texas Championship 2 years ago, and you were playing this double ISD list, and I was playing Pizza Party, and it was squad list. It was a lot of fun. It was just you had two huge ships coming at my four medium ships, and
Mhm.
that was a lot of fun. And then we were practicing for Worlds 2 year or last year, and we're just like, oh hey, looking for game Worlds practice, and we ended up loading up the same list. It was a Lumi, Venator, and four Peltas, and yours was kind of the opposite of mine. The Venator was there to support the Peltas, and in your list, it was the Peltas were there to support the Venator. But I just thought like that really made me interested in more of your list, and I took the double ISD list to the World's Prep event, and it was a ton of fun.
It is.
So much fun, and so I'm really interested in kind of what your favorite lists are because I want to try them out too. I think they fit my playstyle too. So as far as like archetypes, like when I won the Texas Championship and I was on the Armada podcast, the whole podcast was about squad lists, and I feel
Mhm.
like that was more of a meta call to the Texas meta because I thought I could easily face three SSDs in 3 rounds of Texas play. That's not a stretch. And so, but you took squadless to Worlds. Like, what did that make you nervous at all? Of I'm not going to have any squads, and I'm going to go up against 134s in the hands of the best players in the world.
It did, but it didn't. So one little add-on I want to add on to the playstyle aspect is I'm super aggressive. That's just I play aggressive and because I like to get up in there and get out. So just I forgot to add that. But as far as playing taking squad list to worlds, my list is actually surprisingly decent. It's actually surprisingly good into squad fleets. And the reason for that is because it's I have a lot of uh, I have a lot of defenses, particularly geared towards squads. And when my opponent has a lot of squads, they typically don't have a lot of ships, which means they don't have a lot of ships that I need to chase down. So all I have to do is survive long enough to get to the ships, and generally the ships are going to crumple pretty fast. Especially if I can boarding trooper them twice, or I can suppressor boarding trooper, then they're going to go down pretty quickly. So, and with all my mitigation versus squads, the EWS, the expert shield techs, the PDICs, and then my other two defensive upgrades, which are shields to max and in part Deirdre, just because he can get me out of places. It's even for squads, it can be hard to get to the right hull zone because I'll just put EWS on that side. And I'm just engineering all the time with tokens from the flotilla. So it can be hard, very hard for squads to wear me down. Because it's like I did the math to figure out just how long it would take And even separatist squads with four hyenas, Django, DFS, Watt, etc. It's gonna take him a good 3 turns, 4 turns to take me down, and that's assuming I don't have EWS or anything like or that covering some of my bases. So, so I was concerned. Separatist squadrons can hit hard, and double bomber from Skurgs also can hit hard. But I was pretty confident I could make it work, especially with my objectives.
Nice.
Speaking of objectives, I'm going to jump in here. What objectives did you take?
I took hyperspace migration, fire lanes, and advanced gunnery. And pretty much every time I played second, my opponents were like, "This is horrendous," which was great to hear. I played advanced gunnery a lot, which if my opponent thinks advanced gunnery versus double ISD with boarding trooper is the best choice, that's saying something.
You're gonna have a bad day.
Should, yeah.
All right, Bodie.
Well, hey Jay, I just wanted to jump in real fast and congratulate you and just kind of recap my opinions on things. I wasn't able to make it to Worlds in 2023, but I was jumping for joy watching the stream. I mean, watching your skill with the maneuver tool was probably one of the most inspiring things. And I remember as soon as the game finished, the finals, I went on Amazon and picked up a second Onager. I was like, I need to try this list. It looked so much fun. And engine text really was kind of the critical thing because I had played Onagers a little bit, or at least one, but I hadn't really tried it with the engine text, and so that was kind of the defining thing, I guess, of that list. But so I guess continuing with the list of questions, if you had advice to the you starting the game or anyone else just starting the game, what would that advice be?
For myself, it would probably be try harder to recruit all of my Warhammer fantasy friends. But I would say try different things that you may not enjoy as much, but just to see how it works. When I first started, I really wanted to go against the meta. Squadrons were king. You had the Recon Aces list, where at 8 aces, you could recon everything. Yavaris would do a double tap. It was egregious and everywhere. And so I decided to go, all right, well, I'm gonna do double ISD with Modi and reinforced blast doors and just try to outlast them. But I would probably, for myself, I'd say recruit my fantasy friends as well as play more at squadrons. Figure out how to speed up my game as well as just playing with squadrons is an excellent part of the game, and once you know what they can do and can't do, it makes a huge difference as to what you can expect and what you can expect going forward. So,
all right, cool.
And I would probably say play just for others. Play lots of different styles. So play campaigns because you can get a lot of more casual people to play in campaigns, and they're a lot of fun. So make one up or do a league or something. Something that's a little different than the standard 400-point game.
All right. So our next question kind of leads me into a little shout out to our very own Texas Honey Badger, who took a very similar list to the one you took to Worlds, and also he went undefeated on day 0 and won the precursor tournament, whatever you want to call that. So congrats to him. Got a medal. Also got a medal for what is it, Sector Fleet, you said? Yep. And then
yeah, I won a Venator for the prep event and a Providence for Sector Fleet. I think at Sector Fleet it was 2 rounds, so 20 TP, and the next highest was 14. So
what are you gonna do with that third kidney?
trying to find it a good home. I really am. Uh, I think I'm about to let it go for $150 to someone that doesn't have one. Has been looking for one for a long time. Just kind of leery of selling it for so low to I don't want to see it on eBay. Someone trying to double their money real quick, but I
Mm.
do. This is somebody that's been vetted and vouched for, so
Mm.
hopefully that person will enjoy it.
If it's the person I'm thinking of, I think they will.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and then we had Bodie over here. Shout out to Bodie for winning the Task Force Championship. He also medaled.
Thank you. Thank
Congrats.
you. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that next week, though.
Yeah. And I only played in one day of Worlds because I was writing my research paper. So here in a couple weeks, I'll send a link out and everybody can see my medal or whatever. Satisfaction of getting this thing out because it's been a labor of love. But to set this record straight, who came up with this list first? Was it J. Palmany or was it Texas Honey Badger?
It was absolutely Jason. It was absolutely. I mean, he played it at Worlds last year. He played it at the Texas Championship 2 years ago. He played it. I think we just played a game online, and he was playing that list, and I was like, that looks like a lot of fun to fly. And so I didn't. He shared some things about the list and how it works and everything, and I didn't really want to play it because I didn't want to like give away his strategy too much, but. Um, I did end up playing it at the prep event because I didn't think it would matter too much, and it's quite a different list. I changed it up a little bit.
Mm.
No bid, the objectives were different, um, but yeah, it's and I think I fly a lot different than he does. I think I fly a lot more recklessly. He's much more methodical and patient than I am. So I didn't think I'd give too much away in my 4 games that before day one. But yeah, no, it's a ton of fun to fly, and I would recommend anybody try it out. It's so much fun. It's absolutely Jay's list. But yeah, we were going back and forth. I was like, well, I won the prep event with it. I had a perfect score after 3 rounds, and now Jay's copying me, but he took that title back real quick.
Yeah, couldn't let that go away. Couldn't let that stand. Yeah. No, I've been flying double ISD for a long time. It was Marty at first, before Deirdre. I don't know if I think he came up, but no, Deirdre is definitely the one to do. And Honey Badger's right. It is a ton of fun to play. If you haven't tried it, I would recommend just try it because watching your ISDs do like pinwheels around around the battlefield is so satisfying. Even when you're losing, like just the fact that you can turn harder than a CR90 is hilarious.
For me, it's painful because I'm usually the one with the CR90 that's getting eaten up by the front arc of that ISD.
Fair, fair. But it just you should fly it yourself. It's a ton of fun, and it's great to see ISDs on the table.
You can also deploy them kissing, and I don't think that this is like the good thing to do with them, but the one time I flew double ISD, they were Simons with the fleet command that lets you add an extra click at the end and deploying at speed 3 with a nav dial, and you can just go 2 click, 2 click, 2 click, and go from kissing ISDs to wherever they need to go, and it's just the goofiest thing.
Agreed.
Yeah, because what is that like so 4 clicks of yaw is a 45-degree turn, right?
90.
4 clicks is oh yeah, no, you're right. It is 90. And so 6 clicks of yaw is 135 degrees, which is just
Mhm.
nuts.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we've decided it is J. Paul Mini's list. What how did this come about? And I overheard you talking with Dennis, and I heard you say that there is no piece to this puzzle that can be removed without it. Like it has to have all of these upgrades in the list.
Yeah,
Um, so why don't you walk us through your list and talk about uh how it evolved?
sure. Well, like I said, I've been flying it a while, and it's but previously I've flown many different iterations. It's usually pretty much always been an ISD two ISD twos, and the reason for that is just I need the threat range. So it's two ISD twos. My Admiral's Deirdre, and on that same ship I also have Chimera with all the fleet commands. And then both of the ISDs have expert shield techs, and then they both have boarding troopers, point defense ion cannons, and dual turbo laser towers or turrets. Right, it's turrets. And that's pretty much it. And then I've got two flotillas, just the cheaper ones. One has Vader and a comms and the other has Tua, ECMs, suppressor, and a comms net. So, what I like about this list is, for one, I've got Jared, so these ISDs can turn on a dime. The expert shield techs are amazing. They're great versus squadrons. They're great versus MSU. They're still helpful versus large hits. Oh, I forgot the early warning systems. They both have early warning systems. Also great versus squadrons. Also great versus MSU. Still helpful versus ships as well. Point defense, great versus squadrons. Great for trying to avoid some bad criticals. So every point matters. The thing I like about it is that all of my defensive upgrades, of which I have 3 purely defensive and then two extra, none of them rely on the brace. ECMs, thermals, those are great. They make the brace so even better. But the brace is already really good. There's a reason why it's the first thing targeted on pretty much all ships, right? And so, but with expert shield techs, now my redirects also reduce damage. PDICs, now I can get rid of some of your crits or get rid of a double, or so EWS. Now I've reduced your damage, your potential, your floor, and your ceiling. So all of these, and then when I really need it, shields to max, and then or Deirdre just to get me out. So none of these things rely on brace. So when people come at me with accuracy tech to lock down my brace, I'm like, okay, that's not great. I'm not thrilled about it, but I've got so much other defensive tech that I should be able to weather this storm. And my opponents usually cannot say the same in reverse. So that's kind of why all that is all that defensive tech is like that. Now, with the flotillas, I have suppressor with ECM Tua. I didn't initially have ECM on it. However, I kept finding that my opponents just kept shooting it and killing it. And so if I wanted it to run up in front and really be threatening and annoying, ECM became a necessity. In particular, with the increase of points to Vader, because prior to that, it was Vader Comsnet and Hondo Comsnet, because this fleet uses a lot of tokens. And that was at just like 59 points. So I was perfect, right under. But with the Vader increase, that put me over 60. And so I'm like, well, I'm already over 60. So I might as well make it a much harder 60 to get. And so that's where ECM came in. And so at that point, the flotilla really only became endangered via squadrons, because pretty much all the big ships, or very few big ships, would run intel officer. And when they did, I could just ECM the evade and still evade it long or whatnot and still be okay for the most part. So I just had to just be wary of the squadrons, and that's difficult to do, but it's a lot easier when I'm utilizing the right objectives. So when I'm utilizing hyperspace migration, I can tuck my little flotillas right next to the Purgles in that corner. I can send my ISDs forward, and now you really have to extend. You have to have boosted comms and relay in order to try to reach all the way to the back corner to get those flotillas. So it makes a difference. Um, so I mean that's that I could go on and on about the various different intricacies as to what to use and when and why something wasn't particularly important. Oh, I will say this: the double boarding trooper, because there's some debate as to whether you use one boarding trooper and one gunnery team. I definitely went with double boarding trooper because it's infinitely more threatening. With one boarding trooper, you can avoid one I my opponent can generally avoid one ISD. They'll just fly on the outside, and I have the first one. It kind of gets in the way of the second one, and so it's not so bad. But once you have two, if you have two double boarding trooper ISDs blocking you and in your face, that's a lot scarier. Because I've had multiple opponents who will brace something, spend all their tokens just because they know I can kill off their tokens if they don't spend them. And then they'll spend it on inopportune times. So it'll be like, well, you could spend it on this brace, on this 4 damage. You want to spend your brace on 4 damage? And they're like, well, I guess I have to because you're going to boarding trooper me. I'm like, yes, I am. I mean, no, I'm not, but yes, that's what I'm going to tell you that I am so that you'll spend it now. So I don't have to, I can save my boarding trooper for something else. So I rarely use both, but even so, having both was super useful.
Yeah, and you and I talked about this because the double ISD I flew was double boarding troopers, and having two boarding troopers is almost like having three boarding troopers, just for exactly what you said. You boarding troopers one, and they're like, oh, you're just going to boarding troopers me again, so I might as well pitch this brace. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then you activate your next ship, and you boarding troopers a different ship, and so because
Yep.
you no longer need to boarding troopers the first one. I definitely think the Vader is interesting. I just couldn't bring myself around to taking Vader, and my thought process was, by the time I need Vader, I'm gonna be out of shields, and so EST is at their maximum value. And so I'm thinking,
Mhm.
all right, well, if I'm out of shields, at least my redirects still reduce damage,
Yep.
and I don't want to choke them out and kill them. The flip side of that argument is sometimes the best defense is a good offense. If you just kill that ship, it can't shoot back at you, and you don't need ESTs. So it's definitely a call, one way or the other. And also the comms net. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into comms net because I didn't want to not be able to, I guess, nav with my Gazantes. So I did the munitions resupply and parts resupply, and then I also had Chimera or Sovereign on my other ISD. But you were going for a big bid. I didn't have any bid at all. Part of that was too because I was running double Phylon, so I could slow down MSUs.
Mhm.
So that was kind of my thought process when running, a version of your list. What were your like good or bad matchups? What were you like, oh, I hope I see this across the table because I'm just going to absolutely obliterate it. And then what were you like, I hope I don't see this across the table because it's got a good chance of, giving me a 4, 3, or 2.
Sure. So, as you said, even though they're very similar lists, we find them a little different. So, to address why, because I did think about the parts resupply and whatnot, and munitions resupply. The reason I didn't take them is because uh, I use take evasive action most of the time, or entrapment. So in turn two, I'm mostly using entrapment or take evasive. Half the time, I'm using it for the flotillas. So just to slow them down or get them so I don't land on the Purgles. So that's kind of why I went with that route. Just F, in case, and if there are questions in particular about particular aspects, please ask.
Yeah,
But in
no, that
terms
makes
of
sense. I was a coward, so I mostly just teed up IF and, I didn't want to blank out on my reds. So
yeah,
no,
fair.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, without Vader, I could definitely see that. So for a list that I was scared of or worried about, um, it's So it's MC30s, because I can't kill MC30s. There's not like I statted it out, and just with average rolls, with boarding troopers, with a double arc, I still can't kill it. So MC30s are bad. Um, a lot of heavy bombers, so like 4 Hyenas, Django Disc, or DFS, Watt, all that. That can, on average, do say, uh, that 7 to 9 damage, depending on if they have bomber command center in range. So I was like, that's a lot. That's 4 hull after ESTs, and that's after PDICs. So that was one. Heavy bombers from rebels as well. So Skurgs could be a problem. Akbar can be a problem depending upon if it's MC30s or not, and things with a big bid. And then other than that, I did not like onagers either. Irony of ironies. But with my particular objectives, onagers could be painful. But that said, I wasn't too worried about them because I figured it was going to be a squadron heavy meta, and they died as squadrons, so I figured everyone else would kill those for me.
Nice. Okay. So kind of metagaming the meta. I like it.
But Bodhi, you got the next question.
Yeah, so real fast, you mentioned that you, in the previous version of the list with Vader and Hondo comms nets, your flotillas were under 60 points. For any listeners who might not play much in competitive Armada yet, why is that an important thing?
Sure. Yeah, it's just for brackets. So whenever you are playing in a tournament setting, there's basically brackets where you'll get certain tournament points. So 0 to 59. If my opponent gets 0 to 59 points and I get 0, then they will get a 6, and I'll get a 5. And then 60 to 139 gets you a 7, whereas I would get a 4. And so just trying to keep those 2 flotillas under that 60 threshold was a big deal, because it meant that in order to get a 7, which is a pretty respectable score, as opposed to a 6, which is a very minor win, my opponents had to kill an ISD. And some fleets are just not really kitted out to do that, especially the ISDs I was flying. So it was super important to me at the time to keep them under 60. But for me, Vader was a necessity, just because I've had too many games where I've rolled a critical roll and rolled 1 damage or whatnot. Like at Worlds in 2024 against James, I was shooting at his station assault. I had an ISD-2 front shot, a long range side shot, and then another front shot, and I couldn't get 10 damage. I was just like, I need Vader here. And so I was to that. So Vader was a necessity. So that's why that 60-point threshold is a big deal.
Sweet. So let's talk about kind of how your matchups went, and like across the course of 3 days. Just give me a brief summary about the list that you played. Feel free to shout out any opponents, anything like that.
Sure. So, quick rundown. So my first opponent was the famous or infamous Mac. We were both very unhappy about this matchup. So Mac didn't particularly want to face my list because it's a tough list. I didn't really want to play Mac because I figured that he would probably get into day 2, maybe even day 3, and then he would know all my secrets. He'd know what my objectives were and how to play me and how I deploy and how to beat it. So that game came real close. He picked my advanced gunnery. I had bid, and he basically deployed. I deployed my 2 ISDs in the middle. He deployed his ISD in the middle-ish, heading away from me, along with the Gladiator. And my both my ISDs basically just trailed after him. They took a wide, both of them took essentially the same circle. One took a slightly, one was the inside ISD, one was the outside ISD. And I was able to chase down and kill the gladiator, but his ISD ended up living on two hull, which was so I was so close to the table. But his last move was a great move in that he was able to maneuver, obstruct his front with an asteroid. He put EWS on his side, and then he had two shields on the butt. And so I had no good arcs to shoot, even though he was practically dead. And those two shields on his back basically saved him, because that would have been it. That would have been 10-1 for me. And he was able to clean up my flotillas barely, like on the last roll or last two rolls, with his squads. And so my flotillas add up to 67, as does his gladiator. And so we tied with 0 MOV, even though it was a nail biter the whole time. So that was a great match. But I was coming in at 6, so I was like, okay, that's not great, but you know what? I still got 3 games to go. I should be fine. And then I faced Max Chambers, who was flying. I think he's relatively local to the area, and he was flying an ISD with a demo and Palpatine and boarding troopers in some squads. And and he picked my advanced gunnery. I'm pretty sure and basically because that's something else important to know. I have 4 activations. That's huge. Going second with 4 activations. A lot of these lists, especially squad lists, only have 3. That makes a big difference. So I was able to outweight him, and then jump both my ISDs in, basically trap his ISD, and then kill it and jump out. And the jump out, his squad's whiffed. He had a couple aggressors, and those black dice rogues, they did not hit. And when they did, I was able to PDIC them and make the hit go away. So even though I had 1 ISD, I think it had like no tokens because it with Palpatine and boarding troopers and all that, I had nothing, but I was still able to kill that and the demo and get a solid 10. So that made me feel a lot safer that I was going to make it to the next day. And then I came up against Reese. Aga, can never say his name, from Europe.
Yep.
I faced him.
He's I think he's from the Wisconsin area or Illinois. He's local up there. Reese, I think.
No.
No, from the UK.
He's like
got
another
a
Reese.
raptor. Yeah.
UK. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. My apologies, Mr. Reese.
Yeah, but
Mark was about to come in here and set the record straight. He's like, no, that's one of our guys. Beat the world champion.
So he was flying an Onager, which I did not want to face, with Jonas, which I was not happy to see, and a Victory 2, which could hit really hard with decaps and the whole deal. So I was not happy about that either. So I just looked at him like, yeah, this is real prickly. I think I can beat this, but my lows, he'll probably get an ISD and I could get a 4. So I elected to go first because I figured that he would make it to day 2 or 3, which he did. And I didn't want to give away my secrets, my objectives and how I flew it and all that. So I elected to go first, and I just ran. I just sat in the corner, and it took a 5. And it was interesting because this is the first time I've ever done that. And it was, I'm not very good at it. I kept moving towards him, and he got to attack my ISD twice, and he rolled like 6 damage and 3 accuracies, and it was nuts. And so my IC took like 4 hull. I was like, damn, ouch. So I'm glad I didn't engage. But yeah, it was a relatively non-event, which I doubt he was happy with. But I was like, if I'm at 21, I'm still in a pretty good spot. Like I really just need a 6 or 7 at the time is what I was thinking to make it to day 2. So And I'm pretty sure I can score a 6. So, um, so I was okay with taking that 5. So that was pretty much it there. And then my last one was David H. Holmes. Yes, yes, yeah. And uh, he had a similar list to Matthew Chambers. So it was an ISD with a Glad and some squads. But he didn't have Palpatine or boarding troopers. And so I was basically able just to move up, kill the ISD. He correctly decided to flee with the Glad letting me instead of trying to chase me down. He picked my picked my advanced gunnery. He gave it to the Gladiator instead of the ISD. So I just killed that, and that was pretty much it. And that got me to day 2. And then day 2 went very well for me. I ended up winning that day. And let's see, my first opponent, was Andy. So Arc Wielder. I had actually played this list against him like 3 or 4 times. He was one of my like 3 practice people. And so he knew the list well, and he was not happy to see it. And I ended up getting the 10 on him for that one. So I appreciate you, Andy. Thank you. But he was fine in ISD too. He had Jojerod actually, in part because of our practice battles. And he had a Glad, a Gazanti, and some squads, but his squads were geared towards killing other squads, so I didn't have to worry about it. So I was able to fly in, kill Jojerod, and I feel like it was advanced gunnery with the ISD2 having the advanced gunnery. So I just killed it and moved on. My second match was interesting. I faced Joseph Morton. He had a Separatist, 2 Recusants, and a Providence. He picked my fire lanes, which no one had ever picked before. And so that was interesting because I actually didn't have a solid deployment for this one because I figured it was going to get picked the least. And I had a rough idea, but yeah, not a full idea. And his ships have a lot of long range firepower and could contest the fire lanes pretty well. So he picked fire lanes. He deployed all the ships or in the middle ish, and with Patriot's Fist off to the side a little bit. I deployed both my ISDs kind of in the corners because I can do that because I've got 8 long range red to get all those fire lanes, and that gives me where if they move down the center, I can flank them on both sides. If they go for one ISD, the second one can flank them, and the first one can flee. So that was my thinking. And what ended up happening is on round 2, he ended up getting from not Patriot's Fist, from the other one, he ended up getting an accuracy and like 6 reds when shooting at Vader, or 6 damage when shooting at Vader, no 7. And he ended up doing 2 hull to Vader, which was a problem. Because my plan was to do a double click and ram Vader, and then I'll have both ISDs facing that Recusant. So I could kill it, because it was already taking some damage. And then I can have my ISDs turn around and contest the fire lane some more. But that didn't work, because I need Vader. If I ram Vader, I lose all my rerolls as well as my activation advantage. So instead, I had to go for the Providence, and that ended up not working. He got a lot of accuracies and doubles, but he also did, just not saying his dice, he also did play it right. So in terms of having his Providence take all the damage and leave, and then the Pat's Fist come around and continue to not take as much damage, but still pump out a lot. So it did not go well for me. I ended up getting a 3 that match. I almost got the Providence. I think I got it down to 2 or 3 hull, but not quite enough. So
It can be hard to kill.
not thrilled.
Providence can be hard to kill, and that wasn't even invincible. I played him round 1, day 1, and as soon as we got matched up, I was like, I wish I would have brought the double ISD list. But so yeah, he flew it really well. And it can be a really tough list. I think um, that Providences can be hard to kill.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to lock it down and prevent it from moving, but it was just able to squeak out, and so that made the difference between it living and dying. So that was pretty much it there. And then he also picked up a flotilla, and then we tied in later rounds, and he almost tied me on tokens. So it was it was a solid win for him. So coming into the next round, I was not real happy because I was like, oh god, this day two cut's big. You we you goes down to what there's yeah 8 from 48. That's a big cut. So I was a bit nervous. But I came against Andrew Armbruster, who Admiral Android, and he was not thrilled about seeing my list in any respect. And he picked my advanced gunnery, and I was able to chase down, and he put it on his flotilla, and I was able to chase down his Liberty MC-80 and kill it. So it worked out well for me because basically he deployed in the middle, ran to the very far corner, and then tried to run up the sidewall. I had my advanced gunnery ISD chase him as close as possible, and I had the other ISD go inside. So the closer ISD took the out like a wider arc, and the farther one took an inside arc, because it was chasing for where he was going to go eventually. And so it ended up working out for me. I was able to boarding trooper double hit him twice, and then hit him from long range twice previous round, and then double hit him without any tokens. So yeah, I was able to get the kill. We talked a while about it afterwards as to what he could do, and for one, we both had the same bid, and I won the roll off. So that was big. That was huge. If I had to go first and pick from his objectives, it would have been a fight, a very different game. So that was probably the most impactful part of that game, just the roll off. But aside from that, I think just the ISDs themselves are they're very intimidating. And I don't think he even bothered to shoot at them. He killed the flotilla, the suppressor one, the more expensive one, and I think it was. And then I had the other one. I split my flotilla, so he couldn't really kill the other one. But yeah, he didn't even he hardly tried, and that happened a few times in a couple of my matches. People just didn't bother to shoot at me. I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine. So that got me an 8, which was very helpful. I was back in the running. My
I
final
felt
match.
really bad when I saw you matched against him because I played Mac and Andy in the prep event. And you played Mac day 1, and then you had Andy day 2, and I was like, I hope I didn't give him free practice against Jay's list, but no, it
Well, no,
worked out
but it
well for
worked
you.
out for you, particularly against Andy's list, if I remember, or both of them, right?
Yeah,
And so,
I tabled Mac and I flipped his fire lanes. I scored
mhm.
like 600, the most points I'd ever scored in a game. I scored like 625 points, and he scored something like 72 or something. And Andy just didn't engage, so I was sitting at 310s. We'll probably talk about this in a future podcast, but I was sitting at 310s, and then Andy was in second place at like 26 TP, so he needed an 8 to win the tournament, and he played
Mm.
for a 6. He just like corner deployed and tried to kill a flotilla, and I didn't run at him. I should have done what you did because he took my advanced gunnery, and I should have just chased him down and whatever. But I'm kind of glad I didn't because that might have given him some more intel on your strategy the next day. At
Right.
that point, I was like, all right, fine. I'll just take the tournament win if you're gonna give it to me, and we'll call it good. So
Yeah, yeah, I
The main,
understand. I think. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say the main issue, at least my analysis of his decision, is that his Von Karen is not fitted to take out larges. Like the list is designed to snipe a small, maybe two, and then run away with the seven. And
Hmm.
so like there's just no plan for that list into double ISD.
Yeah,
yeah, and he
yeah,
changed it up a little bit. He got himself 5 more points of bid. Um, I think he changed the VCX to Rogue Squadron, so that got him 1 point. He had HIEs on his MC80, and he changed that to PDIC, so that was 3 points. And then he took Gunnery Team down to Kaken and Sholin. So he was at 394 when I played him, and he was 389 at Worlds.
wow, yeah. That was almost a deal breaker, a game changer there. Like I said, it was a roll off. So yeah, yeah, we talked about it a while afterwards. So it'll gave him a couple pointers, which was for his. You're right, Bodie. His list that was it was ill suited against mine. It was just a bad matchup for him. And then my last one was against Jason Diedrich, and he was flying the MC or the CR90 swarm, Akbar swarm, and he picked my hyperspace migration, and he deployed all the ships on one side and kind of flew towards the whales, and my ISDs. The way I deploy them is I can have everything within one of the first Purgold for that first turn. And after that, my ISDs separate and split up and surround. So if you're flying towards the whales, I'm gonna flank you with both ISDs. And so it was a rough one for him because his um, CR90s with EWS sometimes they didn't have shots, or if they did have shots, it was one die or maybe two or three, and I just braced expert shield tech and not care. So it was a rough matchup for him. But so I was able to get a solid a good 10 out of that, just because of the matchup. So and that was my plan for MSU. It was basically to go second and go, okay, well, I'm going to take a 7 unless you can contest my, um, unless you can push me off the whales, which it's really hard to push two ISDs off of something. So,
So if they don't contest you, do you only get a 7 out of hyperspace?
no, I can get an 8.
Okay.
I will get barely an 8. I'll get like 160 on how I deploy. But if they're really not engaging and I can tell, I can turn my I can slow down and get more. But typically I don't, just in case.
Like, what's the highest possible? Would it be
Highest
80
possible
point
would
240?
240.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. But no, usually I could do 140, 160 without too much changing of the deployment or moving around. So yeah, so that was pretty much it for day two, and that victory put me on top for day two, which is great. Colin was annoyed, but it's a good sport about it because I just barely edged him out to take the win for day two. And then the last day three, my first match was on stream. I played Damon. I took a long time. That's the infamous one where I took forever. But he had separatists. He had a recusant or two ships, or four ships, recusant, two flotillas, Providence, and with Martuk, and like 7 vultures. And he picked my hyperspace migration. I did the same deployment or similar deployment as usual, although I had it slightly different where I could have suppressor up forward so that it would threaten his whatever ship came nearby. and it worked out for me. I will say it was close. We did, if um, you can search in the Adepticon on the Discord where the channel is for the Adepticon tournament. We both gave like a recap of what we were thinking throughout the tournament, throughout that particular match,
That
and it
was
was
interesting to read.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of nuts because both of our ships survived, and both of us thought that that should not have happened. I will say it was uh, he did give me an opening in one. He had both of his larges flying side by side, and then he turned one of them to face the Purgles so he could scoop up those points. But when he did so, it swung the back end out a bit, which gave my Chimera a place to land so that it could escape. And so that was a critical moment in terms of saving my Chimera uh, and denying him all those points. So that was huge. When I came into it, I was pretty happy because that was list wise my best matchup. And when I walked out of it, uh, I was very unhappy because I took too long and we went to time and I got a 6, but I would have gotten an 8 or maybe a 10 if I had played a little faster. So it worked out, but that was my fault. And so it's nothing the judges did. They did everything right. So, but yeah, that I was going to be frustrated if I lost the tournament because of that with myself. So next, I ended up playing Colin with his Sloan list, which was something that I was concerned about. So, like I said before, MC30s, heavy bombers, and heavy squads. But Sloan, I count in my mind as a heavy bomber because it gets rid of my tokens, and those tokens are critical. I need them all. I use all of them pretty almost every round, and to prevent damage. So, the fact that his squads can kill my tokens is a problem. But what worked out for me is that he had faced us very similar. He faced uh, Justin Pryor's list, which is a different version of mine earlier. And when he had done so, Colin used Squall and jumped his squads forward and just killed a flotilla. Just boop, turn one, flotilla dead. But he couldn't do that with me because I knew was against squadron fleets, I protect the flotillas. So I had them in the back where they couldn't be reached, which meant he had to move Squall forward toward the ISDs so that it would have range to activate the squads to get the flotillas. That meant the ISDs could kill it. And it did. Pretty much I got a double arc, and it was because he has 3 activations. I have 4, so I move after him. I get the double arc, and so it died real quick. And then after that, he couldn't really kill the flotillas, and he got suppressor down to 1 hull left. So it was close. But then he started to try to work on one of my ISDs. He got the brace off, but whenever he moved his ISD up, I was able to lock it in with mine so that it couldn't escape because it has Sloan and not Gergerod. And then I had my other ISD do a super take evasive action, Gergerod, etc. turn and double arc it. So I had it within boarding trooper range with 2 front shots and a side shot, and a ram or a double ram because he rammed me too. So that ISD just died, and that was it. So I got a 10. So it worked out really well for me. It was one of the lists I was concerned about because I really don't have any defense against Sloan. Just it hits hard. It's bad. And then my last one was against Ryan Becker for the final. He had a Profundity, a Radis on an MC75, which dropped an MC75 armor cruiser with Profundity, a CR90B, and it dropped. It had overload pulse, and the the profundity had boarding troopers. So it was going to be a rough match. I also did not like this one going in because this was the only one that beat me on bid. So he picked for me to go second, which was the right call. Ironically, this is the one list that I wanted to go first against because I did the math, and if I go first, I can uh, get hit, but then leave, and I can go first and leave again. And so I should survive, even if he shoots me in the back with Jared Rod. I should be able to get out. But he went first. So all right, I was in pain. This was not looking good, but I was like, I think I could still pull this out. So I took my hyperspace migration. I got my 80 points, moved my ISDs forward, and then he did his drop. Or his Radis drop, and I was concerned because whenever he did his Radis drop, he dropped it essentially in front of one of my ISDs because they were kind of doing a flanking maneuver where they're both coming together at a point, and he could have dropped his profundity in front of my flagship and essentially locked it into place because one of my flotillas was blocking my exit route. And that would have been a problem because I wouldn't be able to leave. And I would lose my flagship, which then meant I lost Jared Rod, which then meant my other ISD couldn't turn around in time. So I was concerned. So I had to walk away or turn around because I was just like, I can't watch this drop. And when I came back, he put it in front of the other ISD. I was like, all right, this I can live with. And he shot with a CR90B. I put my EWS on the side because he double arced my side with the flotilla, and he really needed this flotilla to get a critical on me. So I put my EWS on the side, so that way his side shot would be obstructed. And his front was actually within close range of my front, which meant PDIC would come into play. So he shot, he didn't, I think and he con-fired, of course, but he shot his front shot. I think he got a crit, but I PDIC'd it. Then he shot me on the side, con-fired, no crit. So I didn't have to take any crits. I didn't get overload pulsed. This was huge because his armored cruiser with his boarding troopers can get, and if he overload pulls me, I lose my brace and both redirects. Losing my EST damage mitigation is huge. So I was definitely concerned. But once he didn't get that off, I breathed a sigh of relief. And then I boarding trooper, and he dropped his MC-75 in black range of both ISDs to double arc both of them. So I had 2 boarding troopers on it. So I was like, all right, this is great. So I activate the one who got hurt. I shoot out the side, hit the CR90B pretty hard. I debated just trying to kill that CR90B and then leaving with the ISD, but I elected instead to shoot at the MC-75. So I'm like, I would, even though the other one has a double arc, I would really like to get some solid damage into this guy, see if I can kill him this round. Because if I can, if I can't do enough damage with the second ISD, I'm not sure I can. So I really, really want to get some damage in. Go to make the roll, 2 damage. It's like, oh God, that hurt. It hurt bad. But it is what it is. Vader wasn't in range. I debated moving Vader up, but I didn't want to risk the wounded ISD dying from his MC-75. His other one. So it is what it is. But my second ISD went, did his shots, got some solid damage in, and moved up and essentially out of arc and out of range of the first one. And then he went first, ran my wounded ISD, shot the healthy one, and then I killed his MC-75. and essentially flew off. Um, the so we traded larges, but I scooped up basically 100 points from the objective, and so I was able to squeak out a seven, or 120 points. I was able to squeak out a seven. It would have been a six, but he moved his flotilla and landed it on a Purgle and did 3 damage to himself. And so that killed that flotilla, and that saved me something like, what was it, 40 points, because it had a token on it. So I would have gotten a six without that. But in the end, whether it was a six or seven, it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have won. So that was it.
That's crazy. The I love the Radish drop, but I just feel like it's not a very good archetype, and I know it's really popular right now and it's super powerful. But if your whole list comes down to one roll, it's hard to recover from it. And so not getting that overload pulse off on your ISD, and you played it well. You defended against it. You dropped the EST where it needed to be. You had your PDICs and everything. So it wasn't just like an all luck. It was part of a skill matchup too. But yeah, that's interesting. So you won 3-0. You're the only person that was undefeated in day 3. And you had 23 tournament points. Second place had 19. So you won by 4 TP. You were 1 TP away from averaging an 8. And second place was 1 TP above averaging a 6. So that's incredible. After that matchup with Ryan, I guess just like at what point did you know you won Worlds, and how did that feel to win Worlds?
I pretty much knew it, uh, as soon as his MC75, as soon as his MC75 died, because we had done the math earlier, and I think I needed a 5 to beat Ryan, and then I think was it the next one after Ryan needed to get a 10 to beat me. And so I knew that was super unlikely, right? And so it was, I think it was Adam. And so it was, yeah, I was confident at that point. Now, I was still in the middle of the game and like, okay, I guess it's still technically possible I could lose, when my ISDs could fly off or something. I don't know. But at that point, that's when I felt confident. But yeah, so, and as far as how it felt, it was a big, I guess, relief. It was just one of those where you've been going for 3 days, not sleeping all that much and just on point all the time. And to just come down off of that it was just a big sigh of relief. It felt very, very satisfying, very vindicating, because the loss from 2023 was rough. I was not thinking about it. So it was one of those where I was like, finally, this is what I had set out to do. When I walked into the tournament this year and in 2023, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make day 3, but I'm really in it to win it. Like, if I don't win, I'll be okay, but I'm not gonna be thrilled. So it was very vindicating, very satisfying, just, and a huge weight off my shoulders, and just in terms of pressure, just be like, okay, I did it. I accomplished. This is what I had set out to do. It was kind of nuts. I in some ways couldn't believe it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I told you, like, you were doing your interview with Ken. I was taking photos of you because I thought that'd be a cool moment to capture. There's some great photos. And I mean,
I appreciate it.
the only person that I would have been happier for to win Worlds would have been myself. And there was no way I was going to win Worlds. So it was an awesome moment. congratulations is fantastic to, you know, I know you meticulously prepare and you just put stuff on the table and it's like, how, what does this look like if I deploy like this and if I do this speed and everything? And it's just all that preparation. I'm really happy for you and that you were able to pull this one off.
Thank you. Yeah, there was definitely prep time.
For myself, I'd like to say I have been a fan of yours ever since the 23 Worlds, where I watched you take double onager and uh, go to the final table and go for the win. Uh, and then the watching that damage card get flipped during that game, and then watching the mutual tabling occur. I I think that's when I first became like a big fan of yours. Is like, oh my gosh, I've got to see this guy like turn this around and win it all. And now it's I got to sit there and watch you win too, which was great. So congratulations. I'm I am a little sad to hear that you won't be. You said you won't be coming back to Worlds for now, at least, or that's your decision. Uh, but
Yep.
yeah, it's been a run that's been super exciting to watch, and you have brought up the skill levels in Armada quite a bit just by your presence and then the way you play. So it's exciting for like that was my first Worlds watching that happen, and so that as like is already like a pinnacle of Armada to watch that occur, and so I've just been like riding high with Armada ever since. Like it's always been so exciting to play, uh, and let's see. Every year, we like interview people who I say every year. We last year we interviewed people who it was their first experience at Worlds, and a lot of what they had to say was like, "Oh yeah, it was good camaraderie. Like we got to meet a lot of people, had a great time." But for me, it's watching like the best people in Armada play the game, and it's just so exciting and fulfilling to watch you reach the finish line.
Appreciate it.
Well, and that's no easy task either. Like to go to be so close to winning worlds, make it to day 3, be in the contention, be so close to winning worlds, and then 2 years later win worlds. Like nobody in the top 8 from last year was in the top 8 again this year. Nobody that won worlds the last couple of years was in the top 8 this year. So that like you did it twice in 3. You made the top 8 twice in 3 years. That would have been crazy in and of itself. But to be the runner up and then the world champion in 2 years or in 3 years is incredible as well.
Thanks.
And the narrative of it's perfect to me because I mean, like everyone said, that game, and then coming back to rightfully take your throne. But also, I mean, this is the first time that an ISD has won Worlds. Yeah, because there was a bunch of Rebel stuff there at the beginning, and then onagers were the main Empire thing. So I don't know. I feel like for the last official world champion, at least to our knowledge, it really is the perfect story.
It really is. Those ISD2s were out in force this year. I mean, you played 4 ISD2 Gladiator, Darth Vader, and a TIE Defender in your first 5 games.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, when you put it that way, that's true. That's fair. There were a few.
And I know you're going to be moving on to some other projects for the time being, but if you ever do want to get in a game of Armada, I'd always be down to have my ass kicked by one of the greats. So.
Appreciate it. Yeah. The moving on aspect, I'm just spend some more time with the family. My son's a freshman in high school, so want to spend some time with him before he goes off. But then I imagine I'll still be around. I may actually poke my head in the Legends arena and see if I can't help them with some of the homebrew and whatnot. They move a little fast for me, because it's like one item a month.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll probably take a look there, and I am when I can make the time, I'll be happy to get games in, or help people get games in, or help practice, do some prep for help people do prep for Worlds last year or next year. So, and you never know if my son's full up and busy doing some other event. Maybe I'll come and just spectate, take pictures, hang out, actually go to the after party.
The real
That'd be
question
great.
is how come he hasn't, you haven't trained him.
Yeah, well, he's got too many other things. So he's definitely in the Star Wars mold. We're doing Andor right now. And so he's engaged on the Star Wars aspect, and he likes playing with the ships, but he never got into the tabletop gaming aspect. We played a game of X-Wing or two when he was little, and he would get annoyed. He
Mm.
was like, I don't like the fact that I'm losing. I'm like, but you're not losing. Just if you go the next turn, you're gonna win. And so it was he wasn't there. But I figure one of the things I'm going to do with him this upcoming year is D&D, and so I figure we'll go that route. We'll do the Star Wars route. Maybe I'll get him around to some tabletop gaming. We'll see.
Good choice.
I have a couple questions from our listeners that are figuratively calling in, and let's see where they went. Yeah, okay. So one question is, did being on the stream table affect your performance at all, or give you any nerves?
Um, it did in 2023. And part of what I was doing this year is making sure that it didn't. Now it probably I probably should have let it at least happen in that first game a little bit, because that probably would have sped me up, because I did go there was one or two moves in 2023 that I did that I debated, but I was like, I gotta make a decision because I gotta move along. And so I made my decision, and it ended up being the wrong one. Um, but this year, not really. Um, and I, in part, didn't actually want to go on stream on day one or two, just so I wouldn't give away my objectives and my deployments in particular on those objectives. So you can request that if you go to Worlds and you make it on stream. But on day three, I was like, nah, it's fine. Let's give the show, because at this point, I'm not going to face anyone twice. So
Okay. Next, how do you feel about the current Armada meta um, after the World Championships, and do you feel like it's solved, or is there more to explore?
I feel like it's generally in a good spot. Armada has always been a relatively tight game in terms of balance, which is one of the things I like best about it. I feel like there's a couple things that may be a little too strong, like Admo may be a little much, uh, or MC30s in general, but there's, for the most part, I feel it's pretty solid. I'm not too worried about strategic like many people seem to be, because as you saw, I brought Fire Lanes to Worlds with no strategic. And so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm not a huge fan of potentially limiting some of those objectives. Um, but no, overall I feel it's pretty good. If anything that I would like to change, or that I think should change, I feel like more objectives are needed. Just to give a little more variety. I feel like that would make a pretty big difference. And of course, cleaning up the towards wording, because that's everyone hates that. That's yes. Because I think we at one point during my match with Arc Builder, we confused Dennis, and so he ruled one way, and then he came back and ruled the other way on the towards keyword in the same match. And both Andy and Aurora were like, all right, that's fine. We're gonna move on, because it didn't matter to us either way at that point. So
I heard him discussing that ruling later, and the judges are so frustrated with that. And now there's a new way to break, the movement of Purgles that I won't go into on here. But yeah, it's definitely. We're getting some comments in the chat now that they absolutely agree with you on expanding objective options and tightening up the ones that they have. And one of the questions actually you touched on was about strategic. Like what if your opponent had strategic and with fire lanes and double ISDs they can just throw it under your ship and score all of them. They don't even really have to contest it. And the rebel ship, the VCX, that's got 8 hull. That's hard for you to
Mhm.
chew down. So
Oh yeah,
what
no, I'm
was
not
your
gonna do
idea or
that.
your plan for that?
Well, as I said, I crunched the numbers. So I actually I manually typed in the for all tournaments for the season for 20 for everyone, pretty much everyone that had 10 or more players, the top four lists. And so I looked at that and saw that uh, roughly like a little bit about 8% of the top four lists had strategic. And of those top 4%, top 8%, only 4% of those had strategic where they could do it twice, like an 8R or multiple lambdas or squall or something like that. So when you look at that, I go, okay, 8%, that's about roughly 1 in 11. So one of my 11 matches should have strategic. And there's like a 50% chance that if it has that, that we'll be able to move multiple tokens. So I was like, that's some pretty good odds that I'm not going to face strategic. And if I do, they can only move one. And so I'm going to get two and they're going to get one. And then I'm okay with that because I'll still get a 7. I'll get 15 a turn. So I was like, this is
I
not so bad.
love
And
I love how
hmm,
your answer epitomizes what I said about you earlier of just the preparation and how you hone your craft in this armada, like putting ships on the table, measuring everything out, and then also looking at tournaments and everything. Like that's just it's peak armada play right there. It just absolutely solidifies that you deserved the world championship.
I feel very validated that I'm not the only person who does a bunch of math. Like every time I'm trying to teach new players, they'll like show up with one of the bad upgrades. And I'll be like, well, mathematically, this does not work at all, and try and explain why something else is better. And nobody cares, but it feels very good to know that, math is always right.
yeah, it makes a difference. That's how I knew what I could survive for M versus MC75s. So and how I know how many hyenas I can survive, things like that. So yeah, but yeah. Do you have any other questions list wise or
Yeah, I had a question from another. The last two questions were from Lark. This one is from Rob We Trust, and he says,
hey Rob.
uh, asking about the objectives. Um, why didn't you take the most common ones like uh, con? What is it? Contested outpost, Astra Tactics, Solar Corona, like these usual meta ones that you see on second player lists.
Sure. Um, Solar Corona is bad because usually I get hit with my own Solar Corona because I'm Deirdre all over the place. So usually by the end of the match, I'm getting hit with my own Solar Corona. And so I'm like, well, this sucks. I need those accuracies. I don't have much accuracy tech, so losing those hurts. So that's a no. Um, Contested outpost, I did have through up until December, January. I faced Jackson or Machi a few times, and he picked it every time. And I was like, if you're picking this every time, I need to take a second look at this. And so that's roughly the time when I finished compiling the data for the tournaments. And when I realized that, oh, there's not that many people taking strategic as much as people complain about it. I think I can make Fire Lane swing because if you don't have strategic, you do not want to pick that. Like this, and especially because I was expecting a lot of squads. So if you have a lot of squads, you don't have a lot of ships. So you really don't want to take fire lanes then. So that's kind of how I came to fire lanes over contested. I considered Doom Station as well as briefly considered volatile deposits. I didn't take volatile deposits because I've got two large bases, and so there will be asteroids and stuff near me. So I'm going to get hit a lot with that. So I'm not certain that I wanted that. And I didn't take Doom Station because the Rift slows me down, and that reduces my number of clicks. That reduces my turning. So I was like, this is bad for me. So, and then I looked at hyperspace migration and was like, actually, with Deirdre, I can fly this into the corner and I can get everyone around this. So I played one of the matches versus Jackson, and I was like, okay, well I was able to score 80 points off of it after the first round. I was like, oh man, that puts a lot of pressure on people. This is pretty solid. I can do a lot. I can just get within one and then send the ISDs off and just keep the flotillas scoring in the back. It worked.
Very cool. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your Worlds experience for this year?
I regret having to go to work the next day and not being able to stay for the after party. That I seriously looked at trying to call in sick and trying to book a second flight and went out of Chicago and get a plane or train down to Chicago. If for those, just a bit of advice for those flying in, you may want to consider flying into Chicago if you didn't, because it's a lot cheaper. And I would say it was great seeing everyone. So it's a great experience. If you are able to go, I'd recommend that you go, just so you can put faces to the names, and meet some really good players and some really good people. So it was great. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the warm wishes and the congratulations and all that good stuff. And continue keep it going for next year. I know it's community led and whatnot, but there's potential to do even bigger and greater things now that it's in our hands versus a company with a bottom line. So keep it going, and I look forward to seeing what comes next.
Cool. I have a couple things to add. Firstly, flying into Chicago was a really good decision for me. Um, let's see. On the way there, I flew into Chicago and then I took a train up Amtrak. Really comfortable, really nice. And then when I got out of the train station, I just had to walk 2 blocks to my hotel, so that was super nice. And then on the way back, I was able to find a regional flight, which was had one connection. It was $98, and I got 2 free check bags, and the seating was super comfortable and lots of leg room. So if you're traveling in the United States, usually you'll do like the main airlines from large airports to large airports, but you can kind of play the system where you go find the smaller airports and then figure out what flies in and out of those. And then you can find the connections to the larger airports. So that's what I've done across the US. It's super nice. Usually there is a free check bag for those airlines. So just a heads up for everybody. There is that same flight going from DFW back up to Chicago next year. So I think I'm going to try and get as many people to go on that as I can and see if we can't turn it into a party plane. That'll be a lot of fun. The second thing is I wanted to see or just ask if someone came and approached you and asked you to be involved in development, would you say yes? Or would you be interested in that?
Yeah, no, I would. Just as you know, I made some of my own homebrew a little while ago now, and so I've there's things that the game still needs, is particularly for the Clone Wars factions, right? And so I would definitely be interested because there's some things that have come out that have been like, I'm not. This seems a little much. I like to think, for better or for worse, I'm pretty good at breaking games. And so I feel like I could do well in the looking at this and going, this looks like much. Like for whenever they came out with Rapid Reinforcements 2, I took one look at that and on within 5 minutes it was like Matchstick. Matchstick looks like I that's a lot. I know everyone's talking about Anakin and that is a lot, but this Matchstick one is the secret ace in the hole or something. It was nuts. So yeah,
R.I.P. Matchstick.
I know. I feel like if they had just turned him into Hera, that would have been great. Like Hera for the Republic. Just three squads, something like that. Give them Rogue, three bombers, right? I think that would have still done effectively. Give Republic some Rogue because come on, they could use it. Um, yeah, or honestly, I feel like Republic could also use Nadine because they need clicks. They need turn. They can't turn worth shit.
It's true.
Republic can use a lot of things, and I know we wanted to have you on to talk about your homebrew and your campaign, which I mean I think both are great. I've played with both. I've played in the campaigns, and they're extremely balanced, extremely well done. One of the challenges that I see with introducing new stuff now that nothing's official with the Legends and the Legacy or any kind of homebrew is it's either going to be terrible and nobody's ever going to play it, or it's going to be good and everybody's going to complain that it's overpowered. And
Yeah,
I mean, I can I can go on this tangent for 30 minutes just by myself. Nobody wants to hear that, but I think somehow the homebrew that you were able to put on the table like skirts that. It's like, oh, this is good, and I would play it, and it's not overpowered, and it can be a lot of fun.
yeah. No, we'll have to do it. We'll have to get on and chat about it some other time, just so we can, we don't go on too long this time. But I appreciate that. I think it was help. The thing that helped me in that respect is I based a lot of it on existing squads. So, like the shuttle, with or the Theta shuttle for the Republic is essentially a Lambda with some minor modifications that makes it work for the Republic. So I
Makes a
think
lot of sense.
that helped because you are right. I've seen a lot of homebrews. I look at it, I go, what whoa, 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 that's something else. Um, yeah, there's a lot out there, and it's something that I would not want to rush because with the game being relatively well balanced, one of the most balanced games that I've seen ever, really, as far as tabletop. I feel like things should be introduced to it slowly, just to give people time to get acclimated to it and to see what things can really do. Because if you introduce too many things all at once, then um, you run the risk of people not really figuring out, yeah, like Matchstick. People didn't really figure out that Matchstick was as good as he was until after they quit playing with Anakin, right? Uh, and so if you introduce too much all at once, I think that will potentially make the game a little unbalanced, a little unwieldy. So that's kind of where I'm at on the homebrew front. It's great to do. I look forward to it. It's a ton of fun. Campaign wise, a ton of fun. But yeah, I would be wary. Just take it slow. I know we're all eager to get our homebrew out there, but you you don't want to mess up the game.
I like you said, every time I see a homebrew ship or squadron, I feel like, oh, this has all the upsides and none of the downsides, and this is why it's homebrew. Basically, it's like
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
have shields, as many shields as you could want, like six on the front, five on the sides, or four, and then like just buckets of dice on every flank, and there's no there's no gaming into it. It's just it's all good. So I think maybe there is place in Armada for like a ship from a faction. Like if I could see like I guess there's limiting factors to everything. So like the SSD and the Starhawk both are really really bad at maneuvering until you have JJ. Um, and then, but I would like to see like huges from the Clone Wars ships, like the
Sure.
Malevolence and the Pride of the Republic. I can't remember what it's. I don't think that's its name, but it basically looks like a small SSD.
Yeah. I agree. They do. That would be cool. Yeah, the Lucre Hulk as well. I have one of
Yep.
those. Yeah, just because it looked awesome. Um, yeah, no, I agree. It would be cool. I would say those are a ton of fun to play with, and we should include them as much as, or as much as is reasonable. But the competitiveness of it, I would want it to be balanced, whatever it is. I think for me personally, the one ship that I want to see is the Dreadnought because that Dreadnought can go in any faction. You can do a different version for every faction, and uh, there's I really wanted. I think I said this on a podcast a long time ago now. But you could do things with it to make it fit each faction based upon the upgrades you give it, and it can do a lot of work. That's I feel like that's what FFG and or AMG really AMG missed out on because making that dreadnought you could sell it to all four factions make a ton of money. So that's the one that I would want to see of anything a gunship.
So that
You know,
actually that is the last question we have from the chat submitted is if AMG was still allowing the champion to design a card, what character would you include? So would it be the Dreadnought or did you have a different answer for that one?
I would include the dreadnought, if only because it makes the most business sense and would make it more likely that AMG would continue doing other things. Because just you could even do it with no paint, and then people can paint it themselves, and you could say, okay, here's a different version for every faction. So I would do the dreadnought. Um, I would probably do the Black Fleet, I think it was, where you had oh, it escapes me at this 10 seconds. The one dreadnought which was controlling all the other dreadnoughts.
I
It
know
was
what
in
you're
the
talking
Thrawn fleet.
about. Yeah, the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, but so you could do it where you had the one that was the head one, and it could like give its commands to others of the same fleet, whatnot. So you could do like a fleet title upgrade on it, things like that.
The
Um,
Katana fleet.
yeah, Katana. Thank you. Um, so that you could do a lot of things with that. So that's probably what I would go with number one. Number two, if they said no, you can't do a ship, you can only do a card or an upgrade, I would probably go with I'd probably go like with maybe Chewbacca because it seems like a shame that he's not in there. Like, really? Come on. So I probably see if I could do like a Chewbacca for the Republic, because the Republic needs more. So that's I'd probably do like a squadron or something for with Chewbacca for the Republic.
Yeah, I like that answer. I also like C-3PO and R2-D2. They seem so
Hmm.
like such iconic characters in Star Wars, and they have yet to be implemented at all in Armada, which is wild to me.
I agree, especially R2 because he can like fix shit and things. So I was like, why is he not here? So I agree.
All right. Well, I want to thank Arc Welder who just joined the chat. He got Pride of the Core. That's the name of the Republic ship. That's like
Uh,
it's not an SSD, but something. It's a thick boy.
yeah, well, and he was really good sport about that day two loss because I know that would have been a tough one. So I appreciate that because yeah, thank you. It was that was a rough match for him. Just his the matchup, the list up was not in his favor.
Yeah. So this kind of brings us to the end of our podcast where we've already kind of gone over it a little bit with you, but our elevation section where we adapt or change one aspect of the game, introduce a new card, or form an errata for an old card. And so your answer for the elevation was the dreadnought, or was that your answer? Or okay,
Yeah, it's the dreadnought because, like I said, it could go in multiple factions. It's a great ship. I always loved him from the Thrawn trilogy. So I would go with the dreadnought, especially because you can do it where for Republic you can give him like two redirects but no officer slot, and so suddenly Obi-Wan has something that's useful that doesn't get broken by Lumi. So there's because you could do that like with Katana Fleet, basically say they have a crew full of droids, there's no officers, things like that. So um, yeah, I would say the dreadnought would be the thing that I would add. Um, if it especially if it's not like objectives, because objectives can change the game a lot. So that's also something worth noting or changing.
yeah. Uh, I want to reach out.
Yeah.
Bodhi, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask?
I don't have any questions. I did want to say that, I mean, now we were the first podcast to have the legendary world champion, so that just makes us the best. Um, so I think, take these next couple of minutes as we're finishing up to go and unsubscribe from all of the other podcasts.
Oh my god.
And yeah, no, don't do that. But um, really, though,
Unsubscribe
thank
to
you.
them and then subscribe to us and then resubscribe to all of them just so we're at the top of your
Yes,
subscription. But
exactly.
definitely still be subscribed to all the other podcasts. That's
Definitely. Yeah. But really, though, thank you for taking the time out of your evening tonight and recording with us and talking about your experience. And thank you for coming and showing the support for the game. Um, I know you're one of, I mean, everyone in the Armada community to me has a wonderful personality, but um, I mean, ever since I met you last year in the Olive Garden waiting room,
Yeah.
I loved having conversations with you. So, um, yeah, I don't really have anything else. I think if we were recording one day earlier on April 1st, then I'd say that what Armada really needs is Salacious Crumb. I mean, he just did so much for the movies, and I think that it's a crying shame that we don't have him in Armada. But um, I don't have anything actual to elevate today. So
I appreciate it. It is always fun to chat. So it was chatting with you. That Olive Garden was interesting and inspiring, and that you're like, yeah, watching your 2023 game was one of the reasons I got into it. I was like, oh man, that's super awesome. That's super sweet. I mean, cool. That's kind of cool. So it was one of the things that I remembered and walked away with. It was like, yeah, this is it. It was a good feeling. So it helped me walk away from that tournament with a good feeling. So I
I'm very
appreciate it.
glad.
Have you ever played Star Wars Empire at War, the PC game?
Yes, briefly.
Okay.
Um, it just, but I played it like years and years after it came out, and so by then it was like, this is kind of old. I
Uh,
think I played a couple campaigns with it, and it was good. But at this point, I don't play it too much.
I believe it is the most modded game in history. That's one of the things I've heard in the last few years. But people have been keeping up to date with mods for it, and so there's mods for everything between Clone Wars, Civil War, post Civil War, and then also the Old Republic. So,
Mhm.
and they're very well made. So, I highly recommend checking it out on Steam. It's all free, obviously. You just have to have the game. But the ship I want to elevate, I would like to see in the game is called the Vengeance class frigate, which is it belongs to like the underworld faction where it is a cloaking ship. It's the only I think it's one of the only ones in the game that cloaks. And then it has these four Gatling guns which shoot what are called like mass drive cannons, and it just penetrates shields. So shields don't matter. It just does damage to hull. So I think that would be a cool concept to have in Armada.
That it would.
Honey Badger, do you have an elevation this week? Or did we lose him? I think we may have lost him for a second. All right, well, we don't need him to wrap it up. So, yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. Uh, like I said, we'll probably have you on again later for the campaign because I really would like to elevate parts of Armada that don't get talked about. So, whether that be players who don't make it to day 3 of Worlds, who love the game and want to share that love of the game with other people who listen, or these different aspects of Armada, like the campaigns or like a one shot. Yeah, I would like to expand this kind of area of Armada and feed into
That
everyone's desires to play more.
I agree. That is an excellent thing to elevate. That's actually some of my fondest experiences have been non-standard games.
We got Honey Badger back. Do you have an elevation this week, or you wanna pop something out there?
Yeah, I'll elevate Plo Koon, the commander. Um, I played him in the team tournament. Uh, I like him. I mean, he's a lot of fun to play. He's not super good, but he's a lot of fun to play. And then people were poo-pooing him on the Discord, and I was like, hey, I just did really well with him in the team tournament. He's not as bad as you think, but I don't know what I would do to elevate him. I've got a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas. For one, make him give bombers swarm. So that would be fun because, and I think the response is like Gar doesn't need any help winning the squad fight. And you're right, they don't. When they take Anakin, Axe, and Ahsoka, they're pretty good at winning the squad fight. But if you give them swarm, you can take like Anakin in the Y Wing, and you can take Matchstick as one of your aces instead, and maybe just Ahsoka and Axe, and then 4 arcs, and that's 134. And so you have a little bit better winning the squad fight, and then you have extra bombing power afterward too. So that would be cool. Or maybe give bombers cloak to help with their movement, something like that. Instead of the grit that they get with adept. I mean, I really like him. I really like his abilities now as is. He just needs a little something else, and I don't think dropping him to 20 points is it. Maybe, but I mean, maybe just give him a little loving on the ability, and maybe even increase him to 30 points if you give him an extra ability or something. But some kind of boost to either the bombing power or letting your bombers win the squad war so you can take more bombers. So when you're after the squad war, you can bomb better.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's maybe changing the distance on them to the 1 to 3, like 1 to 5, because that would help keep your ship safe.
Yeah, that's true too.
The swarm to bombers kind of scares me because I'm already ready to throw hands and cause a riot over the fact that the Y wings from the Gar are so much better than the ones from the Rebels, with their blue black compared, and then
Mhm.
flight controllers.
Oh
So
yeah,
if they
because
get
Rebels
swarmed,
needs help in the squad game. That's where they
the
need help.
Rebels have a huge crutch in Torin, and
GTFO.
Y wings do not get taken. I have not seen a competitive list with Y wings outside of Gold Squadron.
Here's the hot take: Rebel Squadrons suck.
So you don't have to take Rebel Y wings because for one more point, you can have a Rebel A wing, and it's got the same. It doesn't have bomber, but it's got a black dye anti-ship. It's got an extra blue. It's got counter 2. It's got speed 5. I mean, Y wing Rebel Y wings don't get taken because they're bad. They're just not nearly as good as the other options out there.
All right, this is a conversation that we're going to get completely
Table.
lost on.
We're gonna
Uh,
table this for now.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, we I was just wrapping this up and then we got on this tangent. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say, Jay, before we sign off?
Um, just that appreciate all the people that I've come to know over the years. So, particularly, especially here in the Houston area, Alan and Ian for keeping the Houston crew or Houston side of things going for whenever I took a step back. Because when I started, it was mostly me, and I was going to the store and doing like demo games and not you. It's rough going to a store and not having a game and just kind of standing there waiting for someone to show. So I appreciate them for stepping forward and kind of taking on that mantle. And then as just the Texas crew in general for letting me beat up on them during the Dodger days. So I know some of those games were not the most fun, but I needed to practice, and I appreciate that. And then all the people who've joined in on the campaigns, particularly when we're just testing them out, because there's a lot there and it's a lot of fun, but there sometimes I've had to make calls to take things back or whatnot, just to fine tune things and kind of get it to work out well. And then just people in general. The online community has been great. I do not know of many, if any, other or communities where you will have your opponents teach you the game mid tournament to their detriment. I mean that's really rare. I've done it myself, but I've definitely seen people be like, please don't take this. Don't do this. I know we're in a tournament. I know I shouldn't be invited, but you don't. You're new, and you don't do this. Here's the reasons why. All right, you can do it if you want, but I have given you fair warning. So that is something that's rare and something that people should cherish and protect as much as they can, because it's a really great thing.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. You've been kind of I don't know, a rock star here in that Texas area, and we were always cheering you on as you go off to Worlds and compete. So it's been great watching you perform and take home the win. I can't really say for all of us. I'm not really a Texan. I just live here. But yeah.
I mean, me too. It counts. It counts.
Okay. All right. Well, from all of us at the Speculation Station, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. If you are on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. And if you're lucky, you'll see our posting in the Armada Hub Discord, where we are posting our live recording sessions now. So keep on the lookout for that. But outside of that, thank you everyone for your support. It was great to put faces to names and actually meet people at Worlds and to hear all the great feedback you guys have about our project here. So I'd love to keep it coming, and that's our plan. So looking forward to more podcasts and more conversations, especially with Jay here. So anyway, signing off. I hope you guys have a good week. We'll get around to recording again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
We're gonna edit you out, Bodie. That was too late.
I know.
We're
I'm
ending on the
painting
bye.
right now, and took me a second to get to my unmute button.